Mandog and the Great Bone Heist. It was a warm afternoon in Barksville, and Max, aka Mandog, was enjoying a well-earned break after a long morning of patrol. His favorite spot was the local dog park, where he could hang out with all his four-legged friends. As he lounged in the sun, he noticed something strange. None of the dogs were playing with their toys. In fact, they all seemed upset, frantically searching the park. Max's dog senses tingled. He knew something was wrong. Just then, Mrs. Peterson, Pepper the pug's owner, rushed over to Mandog with a worried expression. "Mandog, you've got to help us. All the dogs' bones are missing. Every single one has been stolen." Mandog's ears perked up. A bone heist? In his town? This was a job for Mandog. Chapter 1, The Search for Clues. Mandog wasted no time. He stood up, stretched, and sniffed the air. His sharp nose caught the scent of freshly dug dirt, leading him to the park's fence. It was clear that whoever had stolen the bones had left through here. Mrs. Peterson looked at him, desperate. Pepper's favorite bone was stolen, and now he won't stop barking. "Please, Mandog, you've got to help us find those bones." Mandog nodded, his tail wagging confidently. "Don't worry, Mrs. Peterson. I'll find the culprit and bring those bones back." He followed the scent trail out of the park, which led him down an alleyway and into the heart of the town. There was no doubt about it, the thief had made a clean getaway. But Mandog wasn't going to let them get away that easily. Just then, his tech-savvy sidekick Emma rode up on her bike, a backpack full of gadgets. "Mandog, I heard about the bone heist. Need some help?" "Definitely," Mandog replied. "Whoever stole the bones is good, but they left a trail. Let's track them down." Emma pulled out her newest invention, the Bone Finder 2000. It was a small device that could pick up the scent of bones from miles away. With it, they'd have no problem tracking down the stolen goods. Chapter 2, A Suspicious Cat. As Mandog and Emma followed the trail, they noticed something odd, a pile of scattered dog toys leading toward the old junkyard on the edge of town. The trail was getting warmer, but something about it seemed too easy. "I don't like this," Mandog said, his nose twitching. "It feels like a setup." They carefully approached the junkyard, where they found a strange figure lurking in the shadows. It was none other than Mr. Mittens, the sneaky cat burglar who had caused trouble for Mandog before. Well, if it isn't my old friend, Mandog," Mr. Mittens purred, sitting atop a pile of squeaky toys. "Looking for something?" Mandog growled. "Where are the bones, Mittens?" Mr. Mittens grinned. "Oh, I'm afraid you're barking up the wrong tree, Mandog. I didn't steal the bones, but I might know who did." Mandog narrowed his eyes. "Why should I believe you?" Mr. Mittens stretched lazily, his tail flicking back and forth. "Because I've been watching, and there's another player in town, someone even sneakier than me. If you want to find your precious bones, you'll need my help." Emma frowned. "I don't trust him, Mandog. He's up to something." Mandog wasn't sure either, but if there was a bigger thief involved, he needed to know. "All right, Mittens, lead the way. But if you try anything, I'll make sure you're the one who ends up in the pound." Chapter 3, The Underground Lair. Mr. Mittens led Mandog and Emma through a series of alleyways, eventually bringing them to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The building looked run down, but Mandog's nose picked up something suspicious: bones. "They're inside," Mr. Mittens said with a smirk. "But I'd be careful if I were you. The Bone Bandit doesn't like visitors." "The Bone Bandit?" Mandog asked, his ears twitching. Mr. Mittens grinned. "Oh yes, he's a notorious thief who's been stealing bones from all over town. He's a master of disguise, and I've heard he's planning something big." Mandog nodded to Emma, who was already working on a plan. "We need to be stealthy. If this Bone Bandit is as clever as Mittens says, we'll need to catch him off guard." Using one of Emma's gadgets, a small surveillance camera, they peered inside the warehouse. Sure enough, there were piles of stolen bones scattered everywhere. And sitting in the middle of it all was a dog in a trench coat and sunglasses, chewing on a particularly large bone. "That must be him," Mandog whispered. "The Bone Bandit." Chapter 4, The Great Bone Heist Showdown. Mandog and Emma quietly entered the warehouse, careful not to make a sound. Mr. Mittens stayed behind, watching with a smug expression, clearly enjoying the show. Just as they were about to sneak up on the Bone Bandit, he suddenly stood up, his ears twitching. "I know you're there, Mandog," he barked, spinning around with a grin. "You can't stop me, I've been stealing bones from under everyone's noses for years." Mandog stepped forward, ready for a showdown. "This ends today, Bone Bandit. You're going to return every single bone you've stolen." The Bone Bandit laughed. "You think you can stop me? I've stolen more bones than you could ever imagine." Just as the Bone Bandit lunged at Mandog, Emma activated one of her gadgets, a high-pitched squeak that distracted the Bone Bandit just long enough for Mandog to tackle him to the ground. With the Bone Bandit pinned, Mandog growled, "You're done." Chapter 5, The Return of the Bones. After the showdown, Mandog and Emma gathered up all the stolen bones and returned them to the rightful owners. The dogs of Barksville were overjoyed, barking and wagging their tails as they were reunited with their favorite toys. Mrs. Peterson hugged Pepper as he happily gnawed on his bone. "Thank you, Mandog. You saved the day again." Mandog wagged his tail, feeling proud. "Just doing my job." As for Mr. Mittens, he had vanished as soon as the Bone Bandit was caught, disappearing into the shadows as he always did. But Mandog had a feeling they hadn't seen the last of him. For now, though, Barksville was safe, and the dogs were happy once more. And as the sun set over the park, Mandog knew that no matter what came next, he would always be ready to protect his town from whatever trouble came their way. The end.